Welcome back, friends. Sorry for the delay on the Phoebe guide, but I literally just got her, I think yesterday, day before yesterday, and I had to build her. So I didn't have her to actually do the guide until just now. And we're going to do this guide a little bit differently. Let me tell you what's going to happen in this video. So unlike my other guides, I need to spend more time in battle showing you the ramifications of choosing one power over another and how to build her mixers, which is kind of her, I guess, cornerstone of her kit. And so the rest of it, things like the awarenesses, the powers, and the descriptions themselves, instead of trying to show you the animations and then coming back, I'm going to cover that stuff briefly right now, and then we're going to spend more time in gameplay. So I hope that works for you. Let's just dive right into her and into her kit. So first of all, as always, let's jump into her awareness to start so you understand her base kit. And she's a navigator, if you don't know, or an elucidator, I think is what they call them. And so she's meant to, help your party out. So first of all, her awareness 0 is when an ally deals damage with a skill, resonance, or highlight. Resonance, basically follow-ups. You gain a mixer. So a mixer is a component to her making a drink, just like in, I guess, real bartending. And the mixers are dependent on what element was used. So if somebody shoots like a bless power, it's going to be a bless mixer. If On throws out a fire power, it's a fire mixer. So just think about the element of the attack, and that's going to create the same kind of mixer. After you gain 3 of these, she makes it into a cocktail. So again, you get 3 mixers that changes into the drink, which is how she kind of fuels for her whole kit. If 3 are the same, you get a tailor-made. If it's 2, it's standard. If it's 1, it's basic. Your goal with Phoebe, in a nutshell, is to use skill 3 with 3 tailor-made cocktails if possible. Tailor-made is your best version, and it's made by using 3 mixers of the same type, which you don't control outside of using your powers. And then when she uses a skill, spends a cocktail stack, it activates the effect of the power that you click on, and it gives some SP back. So a lot said in this paragraph. What you need to understand is when you use a power, and it's, a highlight or so when you use a power to deal damage, it's going to give you a mixer of the same element. When you get 3 mixers, it's going to give you a type of a drink. And this is going to come to play when we talk about how to structure teams around her, etc. So that's her base level awareness. Let's go down now into her powers and her talents. So first of all, because she is a 5-star, she actually gives you 20% of her stats. Your 4-star navigators give you 15%. So she's giving you a little bit of an extra buff here. This is with your 5-star navigators as part of what makes them good. Cocktail Party. Increase party's attribute damage by 4% based on main attributes of party members. So basically, if you have a fire person, you're getting 4% fire. If you have bless, you're getting 4% bless. If you have 2 bless, you're getting 8% bless. So it leans into her being best on mono teams or predominantly mono teams. Can't be predominantly mono. Having like 2 of the same. Taking orders. At the start of battle, gain 3 mixers based on the most common attribute among allies. So this is, getting you into having a cocktail as you start the battle. And then as far as her powers, her most important one, and what you're shooting for, is going to be her skill 3. This is going to spend every cocktail you have, 1, 2, or 3, to increase the attribute damage based on the target ally's attribute for 2 turns. I'll show this later, but this is where you want to make sure that you pick your big damage dealer. So if you are, for example, running Chord with, Summer or Tropical Matoha, you don't want to click Chord. You want to make sure you click Closer. So choose your main target based on who's doing the big damage. Attribute damage will increase by 1% for every 230 of Yumi's attack, in this case up to 3680, I'm not fully leveled. Each tailor-made standard or basic cocktail will change this effect by 120%, 100, or 50% respectively. You don't want to be using basic cocktails because you're cutting your effect down, and to the best of your ability, you want to launch this power in a damage window when you have all tailor-made or as many tailor-made as possible to get the best benefit of your buff. Her kit is more of a priority system, and it's around knowing when to use this power and how to make it juicy. For her other powers, her skill 1, this is a party attack increase, again based on her own attack. She has a very high attack threshold you need to hit. When an ally uses a skill, you're going to spend 1 cocktail to strengthen the effect. Again, the better the cocktail, the better the effect. And then Enchanting Stir, this is really more about converting your cocktails than it is about the damage increase it gives. But it does give you damage by 1% up for every 230 of her attack, again up to a certain threshold, and max HP by 12%. You're going to put this on your ally that's doing damage because this is not a team-wide buff, this is an ally buff. And then when they deal damage to a foe, they get some HP back. And again, it's going to be around this mechanic of cocktails. When activating a skill, she's going to spend one of her cocktails, but then she's going to give you a tailor-made. So this is how you convert upwards your lesser quality mixers. So if I just kind of recap this, skill 2, think of it more about converting upwards. Skill 3, you want to use when you have, hopefully 3 tailor-made cocktails. And skill 1 is a great attack up buff, but you're going to be using this kind of more in a damage window, trying to get it with skill 3 to overlap, but skill 3 is your priority. That's her base kit, that's her powers. Let's talk about her awarenesses because she has some really good ones. And remember, she will eventually be a standard character. Right now, she's in this weird limited character holdover, but not really limited character. So we got some time before she comes back unless they rerun her. So awareness 1, this is a really good one. When mixing a cocktail, so this is when she turns 3 mixers into a drink, randomly gain 1 mixer stack of the attribute spent. When activating Tempting Build or Invigorating Blend, spend 1 cocktail, gain 1 standard or tailor-made cocktail. So this is basically getting you to use her powers more frequently, or at least getting you to have better cocktails more frequently. So this in her kit, once you get it, if you get her from standard banners or if you're just chasing her down, this is a really good awareness. It just makes her easier to use, and it makes gaining these cocktails and mixers that much faster, which is really what you need to be doing with her. All right, awareness 2, something to note is this is wrong. They put out a notice in the game, so depending on when you watch this video, this text might change. It's not when spending a cocktail, it's when gaining a cocktail. So it's a key distinction here. Increased party's damage by 16% when gaining a cocktail. Hopefully this gets changed pretty soon. This is skill levels. When an ally uses highlight, increase their attack by 10% for 1 turn, gain a tailor-made cocktail. Again, this is also very good because then you're getting that top quality drink. 5 is more skills. 6, okay, another wall of text. The maximum number of cocktail stacks increases to 4. This is good because it means you get better buffs. At the start of battle, you gain a tailor-made, so you're also starting with your best drink. After every 3 cocktails gained, you gain an additional tailor-made. So you're kind of putting yourself in a situation where your cocktails are greater in stacks and you're getting opportunities to get tailor-made cocktails. When spending one of these, basically your effect values go up. So you can see 120 to 135, 100 to 120, etc. And so should you ever get to a point in time that you have an A6 Phoebe, it's just a really good boost. Now she is standard character, or at least will be standard character. So I wouldn't chase down an A6 if she comes back on like a rerun banner or anything like that. I wouldn't even chase down an A1, honestly, unless you're like super pushing like top 10 guild score kind of stuff. I would just wait and see if you get it from the standard banner. She is worth having though. I do think she is a really good navigator if you care about scores. If you don't care about scores, you're going to be fine with the other navigators. You're probably going to get a Futaba eventually. You probably get an Anj eventually. And so you won't even be using that many navigators outside of that. So that is her Awakenings. They're all really good. That A1 in particular I like. Let's go down to her weapons. I do not have her 5-star weapon. I do have a fully maxed out 4-star. I made this a priority. So at base value for the 4-star, increase attack by 12%. She functions off attack, so that's very good. After using a skill, increase main target's damage by 4.8 for 2 turns. If it spends cocktails, increase damage by 3.6% more. And then at the final level, your attack goes up to 24%, damage goes up to 8.4, and then if you spend a cocktail, it goes increased damage by 6.3% more. Geez, that's a mouthful. So overall, because the attack increase, this is good. Again, you need to get her into high attack values. And if you're not going for her 5-star, you don't have her 5-star, I do recommend maybe using your weapon cases or picking it up from EY Shop and getting this maxed out. It just really does make a big difference for her. Now, I do not have her 5-star weapon. So for that, the best I can kind of do is just tell you a bit about it. I don't think there's anywhere in game at the moment that I can even view it. Her 5-star will give you a better attack value. So at base value is 30%. So again, it's going to beat out a maxed out 4-star like I have. And then for each cocktail that you consume, so this, all just depends on how many you have, what powers you're using, skill 1, skill 3, etc. One of the following effects will be triggered. So you can gain 6% attack, 4% crit rate, 5% damage dealt for 2 turns. Effects do not stack. And then when consuming one of the cocktails, the higher the quality, the better the buff. It uses that 120, 150% values. So first of all, you're getting just another buff, and it's a decent buff. And then for kind of the big thing, the big reason why this is a really good weapon is for every 2 cocktails mixed, you reduce her skill cooldowns by 1. And so this is going to allow you to use her powers more frequently. It's going to allow you to stack buffs more easily. So she is a 5-star weapon that from a, consolation prize weapon banner kind of a thing, when it gets in there, eventually when she goes a standard banner, I would put that as one of your highest priorities if you're running Phoebe. Because she's standard, it's hard for me to recommend chasing her weapon. What I personally did, knowing that I had a good shot of winning her, or at least wanting her weapon later, is I went to the 50-50 pity, I lost it, and then I saved the rest of my pity for the next character. And if this was an EY shop, this would be a priority weapon for me for my tokens, and that's a battle pass kind of a thing. So a good 5-star weapon, again, being that she's standard, I don't think I would chase it unless you're in a top, scoring guild, and then you might want to. But otherwise, get her 4-star, get it fully maxed out. Mindscape, this top row over here, it's decent. You're going to get some, extra things like attack, which helps her out. And remember, you get 20% of her stats into your characters. So it's definitely, good to eventually put your points up here. These are a little bit easier to fill out. As far as the rest of her kit, this is where it becomes hard because as you've learned, these materials can be rare. And the ones that get you into like the rainbow tiers of these are very rare. So they're very hard to get. We don't even have this unlocked yet. But when it comes out, it is something that's going to be a bit harder to do. As far as the priorities, I would say that your first thing is going to be her first stat node, which is going to be attack. So this here is, again, important for the way that her skills work. Then you're going to want to go into her skills. And I believe this one has the 2 skills. I can't see it. Then you have the other skill here, and then HP percent, save it for last if at all. And then let's talk briefly about her kind of thresholds up here. So the big thing with Phoebe is because she works off of attack, you want to get her attack to the point that you are maxing out her buffs. And one of the best places you can go to see this is on lufel.net. Her regular level 10, so level 10 is when you don't have the extra, skill levels from her awarenesses. That's going to be 4,600 attack. And then it only goes up from there depending on how many awakenings you have, if you've maxed out her Mindscape. So for her, really your most likely target is going to be 4,600. You'll see that I'm at 4,700 here, and I'll show you how I did that in the cards in a second. But this is the thing you're really going to want to push for, is above all other priorities, get her attack all the way to that 4,600 if you can. That's an in-battle number, by the way. Remember, you get some benefits from things like the Thieves' Den. Let's go into her cards now that you know the threshold. The set that I think you should use on her, you can use Power and Trust, I believe it is. But now that this set is out, I would look for Labor and Integrity. So Labor Integrity, you get max HP by 12%. That's really just going to help for your stat transference into your people. And then when equipped by Elucidator, so that's her, during battle, increase party's max HP, attack, and defense by 8%, so it's a good 4-piece. And then for the total here, at the start of battle, for each ally with a matching main attribute, which is something she likes, increase party's max HP and defense by 2% more. So this is just a flat stat buff for trying to bring a duo or mono team, hopefully. And as far as stats go, really, again, she's looking for attack. So in all of your cards, you want to try to balance this out to where you at least have enough attack to that 4,600 threshold. And so on your Sun card, you're going to be stuck with HP on the top, but you're going to see down here, I've got some attack. On the Moon card, same thing. I went for an attack card because you're going to get a really big percent boost here. Star card, you're probably going to need attack here. If you somehow get to the attack thresholds without it, cool. Then you can switch this over to something else like a crit rate, crit multiplier. Chances are you're going to need the attack. Same thing with Sky. So you're going to be looking at attack in all of your main stats. Substat wise, it's again more attack until you hit that threshold of 4600 or higher if you have other Mindscape things going on or you have more awarenesses. Then you start backing out and going into your other damage boosting effects. Crit rate, crit multiplier, attack multiplier plus, which is bonus damage, pierce rate. Those are the things that you really want to push into her. And you can kind of see it in my cards here. I've gotten lucky and gotten a couple ones with some decent things. Not everything is perfect. But again, main stat, you want attack or attack percentage until you get to that threshold of 4600 or higher. And after that, you want to go into your substats of offense. So crit damage, attack multiplier plus, pierce rate, all very good things to go for. That is Phoebe. Level all her skills. All of her skills are important. It's up to you if you want to take them to 10. Right now I'm pausing because I need to get more materials and I don't know if I want to use all of my roses just yet. So level everything. Let's go into battle and I'm going to show you a couple things about how she works. And this is where the meat and the most important parts will come into. So bear with me. And by the way, if you made it this far, a like and a sub would help tremendously, especially that sub right now. We're trying to get to 10,000 so I can open the Discord. So help us get there and join our community. So we'll go into any battle, doesn't really matter. And the first thing I'm going to show you is kind of a traditional team. This is a team where you're almost all mono. So you've got a support character who is not, but I've got, two over here that are. I'm running with a lead-in of another blessed character here. So this is not an uncommon setup to have a not fully mono team, but very close to it. And we'll just go in here. I'm going to show you where these different effects come to play. So with Phoebe, you're probably going to be coming into this screen a lot. So you're going to see I started off with a tailor-made. That's because I have predominantly bless characters. So keep that in the back of your mind. But I have no mixers right now. So now, if I pop over here and I use a bless skill, we'll have to let these animations play out. I'm going to come back to Phoebe, and now you see I have a bless mixer. I use bless, I got bless. And now on chord, you're going to see if I use distortion, and then I go back into the buff window there, after annihilating them, I'm going to end up with an electric one. So now I've got two mixers, which means no matter what I do next, I can't get a tailor-made mixer. Because I'm going to use, I'm about to use a bless over here, but I'll have two of one element and one of a different element. And that means that I'm going to get a standard cocktail. So again, if I come back over here, go back to Phoebe, I've got a tailor-made and a standard. So I've got the best type, I've got the worst type. Well, not the worst type, sorry, the middle tier type. Again, now I'm going to use, I keep wanting to call her somewhere closer, Tropical Motoha. And she is going to give me another bless mixer. Now, if I had somebody doing follow-ups, I'd also be triggering more of these. So like if I had a Yui running or a Fox running. And then I want to show you now her skills. So now that I'm in her skills, check this out. I have a standard and I have a fully blown tailor-made cocktail. Invigorating blend. Remember how I said you want to use this when you've got 3 and hopefully all tailor-made? I want you to take note of some values here. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click on the DPS I want to use it on. So again, if I pick somebody else like electric, that's not going to be as beneficial because now I'm not juicing up the bless damage. So I'm going to put it on Tropical Motoha. I'm going to pop in here now. And if I look at her, I just gained 2 things. One, increased crit damage by 18%. That's because I used 2 standard or better. And I chose her specifically. So it makes it important to pick your right person. And then Invigorating Blend, increased bless damage by 42%. So I used 2 of my cocktails, and I got a roughly 40-odd% buff. Now let's go back. I'm going to show you a different way to look at this team. Same team. So we'll pop in here. The opening's going to be exactly the same. So everything you saw as far as me making drinks, I'm going to do identical to what I did just a second ago. So nothing will change. There's nothing random about Phoebe. She's maybe slightly confusing, but she's consistent. Like you do understand what she's doing once you get used to her powers. So right now I'm working on making another mixer. Or sorry, another cocktail. And this will end up being a standard cocktail because I had a bless, an electric, and then a bless. So now I have a standard cocktail. And of course, we're going to do this. And this will start another mixer, which is going to be bless. So I'm working towards now my third drink. And I'm just going to sit here and take damage for a second, apparently. Alright, so now let's go in, because she's ready to be used. So again, we have a tailor-made. We walked in the door with that. We made a standard because we had more than one element type. We had 2, specifically. And now we're with a bless. And so now, if I take her skill 2, I'm going to put that on closer, because I want her to get the buff. She's my damage dealer. And what you're going to see is now I have 2 tailor-made, and I still have that bless mixer. So it doesn't touch your mixers, but it took my standard, and it converted that upwards to a tailor-made. So now I'm just going to keep going through, and I'm going to do some damage. And for the sake of it, I'm going to use a buff on her because I don't want to do another standard mixer. So I need 1 more bless damage to get another tailor-made because that'll be 3 bless mixers. And so now you'll see that. So I've got 3 tailor-made. This is good. And then we'll Summer Explosion. We gotta wait for this to cycle through. Alright, so she's ready for another thing. So again, 3 tailor-made, and I'm capped out. I'm capped out. I can't make any more cocktails. You notice that I don't have another mixer, even though I just used Motoha's skill. So I need to use a power. And now I'm going to use Invigorating Blend with my max potential. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to drop that on closer. And I'm going to look at my buffs. Remember, it's 40 odd percent. It was like 42% before. Now it's 69. Okay. So I still get the same crit damage buff. It's not messing with that, but I'm getting a much better bless damage increase because I used 3 tailor-made cocktails. That's the best I can do, is get the maximum effect from that. Now I would be able to get to this quicker if I had her 5-star because I'd be reducing cooldown, but I just don't have it. Same thing if I had her A1, I'd be able to get here faster because I'd be getting mixers back. Again, I don't have it. So this is kind of a A0 4-star weapon version of her. Just know that if you had her other things, you would just be doing this faster and better. And so this is your goal. And when I say this is your goal, I don't mean in stuff like this. Like in your auto battle kind of realm of content, don't worry about her. Just let her do her thing. In your, I guess, score modes, that's when you're trying to push the damage. Or if you're in a really particularly tough boss fight and need that extra bit of juice, that's where you want to push it. What we haven't talked about then is her skill 1. So again, I'm going to come back out and I'm going to show you kind of a somewhat typical way to use her. You're not always pushing for skill 2, nothing like that. But what you want to do is think about your damage windows. So this will probably be easier to see on my stream on Saturday because I will be doing guild boss and one of my guild bosses will have to use Phoebe. So, I'll be trying to test exactly when to get the rotation. It's going to change per guild boss. And that's the thing about Phoebe. She doesn't have a specific rotation. She is very much going to depend on when you want your big power to come through and what party composition you have. If this was non-dual element, then I'd be getting a lot of basic cocktails and I would have to really kind of play around that. So let's just kind of go through, do some powers here. And then I'm just going to I don't want to kill them too fast, which is why I keep backing out of that. And in reality, I'd be using this. Actually, I would have buffed with Wonder as well. So now I'm sitting at an Electric, a Bless, a Tailor-Made. Now I can, we're going to do this. I can use this, because again, highlights count their damage. I gotta be careful not to kill the stage too quickly before I can show you. Alright, so now we're sitting at, you can see I made a standard because I had 2 Bless and Electric. This would be basic if I had 3 different elements. So on this first round, generally this is when I tend to want to use like a skill 2. I want to time skill 1 and skill 3 as close as possible. And so a lot of times I would lead off with like a skill 2 to try to get into another tailor-made and then still give a buff. And then let's see. So he honestly normally would be doing buffs. So I'll throw Rebellion over there, and then if I show you in the window here, you can see it doesn't give me a bless because it's a buff. It's not a damaging skill. So I don't get a mixer for that. And then we'll just... No, I'm not going to use Ketchio because she'll wipe out that whole party. That would be terrible. If you were in an all mono team, now I would be getting, you know, another bless. So if there was another bless unit, if I used, you know, like Yukimi or something there. And again, I'm just going to use this like I normally would, although I just selected the wrong person. I want to show, because eventually I'm going to get her into her ability to use her power again, after I'm done getting smacked on the floor. And then she, of course, would do something like this. Not really, I wouldn't be using her skill 2, but again, I don't want to kill things too fast. And now she's back up. So at this point, if I look at her, I've got 2 tailor-made cocktails. And I've got a Blessed and Electric, which means my next skill is going to, or my next damaging skill is going to give me a standard. And so if I use skill 1 here, I'm going to get a party buff. And I'm going to use one of my cocktails to do it. So we get an attack up. And then if I come over here, I still have a tailor-made, so I didn't use them all. You use them all when you use skill 3. And I got myself a nice little buff. It was an attack up somewhere in here in this giant list of buffs. And so that is a very common thing to see yourself use. If you're doing an all mono team, a lot of times you can do skill 1 into skill 3. You can time it easier because you don't necessarily need to use skill 2 as much. If you're not in a mono team, if you have 2 of the same element, which is what you see me doing, then you're going to be in a situation where oftentimes you're going into a skill 2, into a skill 1, into a skill 3. And the reason you're doing it in that order is that times your skill 1 and it times your skill 3 closer to each other for your damage windows. And again, if I go into her skills, you can kind of see the timing on these. So skill 1, 3 turns, skill 3, 2 turns over here. So if you get your skill 1 going, you can overlap into your skill 2 a lot of the time, or skill 3 a lot of the times. So think of her as a priority system. Skill 3 is your big damage. You want that when you want your most damage going out, which is typically in your scoring modes on like your 3rd turn or your 6th turn. And so do what you can to get the best cocktails possible for that window. Preferably towards the end of the fight, you want a full, you know, tailor-made stack going into a skill 3. You also, to your best of your ability, want to try to overlap your skill 1. So you get kind of used to her in practice and you stop having to go into the attribute window so much. Like I know that when I use a blessed power, I'm getting a blessed mixer. I know that when I use an electric power, I'm getting electric mixer, or fire is fire. And so you get used to her, but she is definitely a character that you kind of want to play with and start really looking at, okay, I did this, this, and this in this guild boss. What mixers did I have? What cocktails did I make? And did I just launch skill 3 with 1 cocktail and get a really low effect? Or did I hold that skill 3 for a damage window with 3 mixers? That's kind of how you want to think about it. Think of a priority system. Think about every fight being potentially different because it is going to depend on the characters you bring. And I will say that when I'm in a team that only has, you know, one of a particular element that's attacking, I may not bring Phoebe. That might be where I use Phoebe on a different team for like a different guild boss, like side 2 or side 1, whatever. And then I might bring, in this case, an Okeon, where I've got a consistent attack buff. Or Puppet is less relevant in this discussion because she's not really boosting your damage. Or that might be where you put like a Futaba later on and you save Phoebe for a place where you're using a lot of the same element. So don't feel like just because she's a 5-star, she needs to be in every one of your teams. If you're running a team with, I don't know, let's say Minami, who else could you bring? Cord and Queen. I don't know why I'd build that team and not have Vino. But let's say that you did. Well, on that team, you don't have a lot of the same element going out, and Phoebe's going to lose a lot of her power, and she's going to be very clunky to try to make tailor-made. You're going to be relying on skill 2 a lot, and that's going to give you damage increase, but you're not getting your skill 1 to also overlap. So I would actually probably avoid her, usually in a completely, you know, different spread of elements like that. I think she's best in a mono team, easiest to use. And then second to that is something like what you just saw, where you've got 2 of the same type that can attack. Also, if Wonder's attacking, that can come into play. So that's what I think you should think. So that's her. Is she a little bit complicated? Yes. Do you get used to her? Yes. Is she better in practice when you play with her versus watching a guide, even my own? Also yes. So get used to her. But remember your goal: damage window, skill 3, 3 cocktails, all tailor-made. The closer you can get to that answer, the better you're going to be. You're not always going to get there, but the closer you can get there, the better. And if you can overlap a skill 1 on top of that, you are going into damage heaven. So that's Phoebe. Sorry, this is a little bit longer. She's harder to describe. But again, if you could like and sub the video, help me get back up there. We're trying to get to that 10K. And my friends, until our next video or live stream, please take care of yourselves.